Hello Dark Souls community. Do you know how many weapons are in the first Dark Souls? Well, I do. It's 120. Well, actual attacking weapons anyway. That doesn't include talismans and catalysts. And to me, that is quite a lot of weapons. No Elden Ring, but this was 16 years ago. So, nope, no it wasn't. 14 years ago. So, still a good amount of weapons. But there's only one weapon that I'm focusing on today. The Crystal Straight Sword. Now, why is this weapon so special? Other than how it looks, it's pretty regular. Its damage isn't special, and it can be buffed. However, as it's a crystal weapon, it cannot be repaired. And because it's a basic non-created crystal weapon, it also can't be upgraded. Meaning that when it breaks, that's it, done. No retries. No upgrades to save it, can't repair it. Broken. So, a question came to my mind. Can you beat Dark Souls with a Crystal Straight Sword? To start off with, I chose the warrior class so that I'd have good strength and dex stats to wield the sword. The gift I chose was the fire bombs for a reason I'll get to in a minute. If I had actually bothered to figure out how to, I could have used Cheat Engine to spawn in the sword, but I didn't. So instead I had to make my way out of the asylum and to Andre where I could buy the sword thanks to another mod that I have installed. Because I have to use the crystal sword to kill any boss and any enemy for the most part, I couldn't technically kill the asylum demon, so what I did here was a little cheese. If you kill the demon and trigger his death animation, then quit out before you get the souls of the victory pop up. When you load back in, the door will be closed and the demon will be on top of the spawn point. Well, on top of, like, at his spawn point. And now when I go to Oscar for the keys and the OJ, he gives me the Big Pilgrim's Key also as he thinks the demon's dead, but it's not. So technically, we're good. With all that done, I can now leave the asylum and head off as the crow flies to Firelink's Shrine. The next boss I have to fight, quote unquote, since I don't have the Master Key, is the Taurus Demon. He's not too bad. Again, I can't actually just slap him about, so I will need to employ the tactics, the ancient strategy of cheese. After 1 or 10 tries, I abuse his AI to make him jump off the bridge to his forever sleep. And now that that's out of the way, I can actually make it to Andre. I buy the sword of crystal, so I can finally actually get this run on the go. This sword has 60 durability, but when it gets down to a third of that, so 20 if you can't do maths, it becomes at risk, so it does less damage, which continues to drop along with its durability. For this reason, my main goal is to blow up, to avoid all non-boss enemies, and basically do the worst speedrun you'll ever see of this game. I need to kill in total 11 bosses, including Taurus and Asylum Demon, but one of those is Bed of Chaos, so I'm just going to say an even 10, meaning that I need to average 4 durability per fight. I'm also not using save states other than for Bed of Chaos, so every death in a boss fight means that durability loss is actually gone. I'm not going to get it back. Which, ups the ante, makes it more interesting, I'd say. After leveling my dex up a bit, I head off to fight the wait, no, that's the wrong game. I head off to fight the gargoyles. And they're not actually that bad, they're quite easy. Again, the sword does reasonable damage for early games, so they went down without any issues. And since the sword can't be upgraded, all I need to use my souls for is for leveling. Which is what I did. I ring the first bell, and then homeward bone back to Undead Parish, where I sink all my souls into health, which obviously will help, but realistically, looking back on it, I should have put them into dex and strength for the damage. Either way, my next goal is to go back to the asylum and visit my old friend, Asylum Demon. As expected, he's a pushover, easy peasy, no problem. And with that first boss a goner, I can continue on with the rest of the run unencumbered by the weight of having to revisit the boss. Yeah, I have absolutely no idea where that was going. I'm watching The Simpsons as I write this, and I was very distracted when I was putting that sentence together. Old Simpsons is the best, by the way. The new seasons suck. Anyway, at this point I feel like upgrading my Estus, so guess what? I do just that. I head off to No Londo Ruins to grab the Firekeeper soul and bone back to Firelink's Shrine to speak with Anastasia. With me now officially overpowered, I now have to go face the Capper Demon. Not because I need the Embers to upgrade, not because I want to fight him, but because I don't have the Master Key. Here's a pro tip, always choose the Master Key as your gift. This sucks ass without it. Capra himself wasn't actually that hard, but I did spend quite some time running back to get my souls, because again, I want the damage. I want to upgrade the damage in the sword. The more damage I'm doing, the less hits I need. The less hits I need, the less durability loss. That's my maths. Next on the hit list is the depths for the Gaping Dragon, so again, I don't have the master key. Instead I actually need to go and grab the key to the bonfire room in the depths. Here we go, the first major boss of the game, Gaping Dragon. I say first major boss because, you know, the others are kind of mid. Although, to be fair, Capra is a required key boss, so I suppose... Alright, okay, the second major key boss, unless you have the master key. In case you can't tell, I wish I had the master key. Now, for this fight, the channeler on the floor above can actually buff the dragon, so before jumping into the fight, I went and killed that lad. And now that he's done, the fight is pretty simple. I got some pretty solid RNG. It didn't do the acid wave attack thing, and I often went for the slam attack, which is the best attack it can do, because that gives you easy access to its head, and if you have easy access to its head, then you can, well, you know, you can hit its head. So, usually, beings are weak in their head. This one is also weak in its head. After knighting the dragon a few times, and stealing its tail as well, it went down like all the rest of the bosses. Unlike what I've already done so far, this next part is actually quite unfamiliar to me. Obviously, as a master key lover, I've never really have to go through Blighttown's proper pathway, so in this run having to actually go through Blighttown was a proper enlightening experience for me. Either way, as I'm just hauling ass through the whole area, I stop for naught and bolt down to the ground floor of the location. Then, ran out into the Valley of Drakes for the good old RTSR, the Red Tearstone Ring, which I figured would help me due to its damage increase, because, you know, more damage means less hits, means less durability loss. I definitely used that ring many times. Here, we have good old Quelaag, in which I do use the RTSR, because I'm pretty confident in fighting her, and in doing so, her health drops nice and quick. With that boss killed, I ring the second bell, then go downstairs to the Daughter of Chaos bonfire, not for her soul for once, but because I'm actually gonna join our covenant for a specific reason that we'll get to later. Then, after speaking to her, I go deal with Ceaseless Discharge just for the easy souls, and because I'm so good at this game and such a smart person, after going out of my way to get the souls from Ceaseless Discharge, I then die to a Taurus demon, losing them, but no worries, right, I can just go retrieve them. You would be correct in thinking that. It sounds easy enough, but you're forgetting one thing. I'm a dumbass. On my way to retrieve the souls, again because of The Simpsons, I was looking at the other screen and walked off the edge of a cliff, losing all the souls. So, whatever. That's done. That's like, I don't know, 3 or 4 levels that I'm not going to get, but we move on to Sen's Fortress. There's nothing much to say about this place, simple as always. It just reminds me of that scene in Resident Evil 4, the original, where it has also got the swinging axes. I wonder if this was influenced by that. Probably not. But, yeah, the main aspect to mention here is how easy the RTSR setup was to go and fight the Iron Golem. This wee lad outside the area makes for solid damage to lower myself to the trigger threshold, and the Golem is an easy fight in general. So after a handful of smacks, I trip him up, he falls off the arena, and on to Anor Londo. With the souls I got from the Golem, I level up my damage for the sword, mainly up in strength for now, but because this sword skills a C with strength and dex, eventually I will get both leveled equally. I then head off through the most challenging part of the game, the rafters. Super tense situation here, very scary. After making my way into the main Anor Londo area, I go on and grab Havel's armor, so I can use it later on with the DPS Kings fight. Just in case I don't do sufficient damage, at least I'll be able to tank their strikes and poise through them. Next up in the main key boss fight arena is ONS, Ornstein and Smough. A pretty fun fight and a good gauge of your character's health and damage up to this point. I think I would say they're the Pontiff of Dark Souls 1. Actually, technically I think I would say Pontiff is the ONS of Dark Souls 3. But, moving on. It does take a few attempts. For the most part, I gone for Ornstein first. Ornstein, even. But actually, this time I felt that Smough was the better first kill. Because Ornstein just seemed to spam lunge and ranged attacks. And they are super easy to see coming to dodge. In the meantime, while I was doing that, I just whittled down Smough's health bar. Well, that was English. Smough's health bar. Until it was just me and Super Ornstein. With them both dealt with, I went up the elevator thing and leveled my dex to almost match the strength stat, and then I spoke to Amazing Chest. On YouTube, he gave me good advice for this playthrough. Just kidding. I spoke to the character model for Rammstein's Decatitten song, and now we have the Lord Vessel. I spent some time grabbing humanities here and there so I could give a cheeky 30 to the Daughter of Chaos Covenant, because doing this unlocks a shortcut down below, which lets me skip a fair few bosses, lowering the durability loss requirement to progress through the game. So, as I mentioned earlier, for the bit of Chaos fight I did use save states, only because it's a long run back and the only thing that achieves is wasting my time to an amazingly well made boss fight. I don't use save states for any other boss or area, as I stated in the intro. After a solid 10 minutes of dying in a totally fair way to Bed of Chaos, I eventually get to her main bug body thing and whack it hard. Only to die a second later to a previously launched attack, so that's cool. I don't bother going back for the souls because, I'm pretty much in the final stretch of the game, it doesn't matter much now. Moving on from the Bed of Chaos, I head into the catacombs, where I find this wheel made of pins. He's not too bad, but compared to the damage I'd usually be doing at this point, I might as well be smacking him with a cheese string. He obviously goes down easy enough, and unlocks the entrance to the Tomb of the Giants, and this area is hated because of how dark it is. But if you spend enough time in the game, you can navigate the route without a light source. Unless you're an idiot like me, in which case you'll just walk off the edge to your death. Getting all the way through to the Nito fight, I come across another pain of this run. Any run, actually, that requires me to use a specific weapon. The shitty little asshole skeleton friends that Nito has with him. I don't want to outright kill them each attempt because, limited durability. But at the same time, it's not too easy to focus on Nito with these little bone pricks cutting about. Eventually, I get good RNG where Nito kills them over and over, so I finally get to kill the Scaly Lord. And then I go off and kill Seath. Nothing special here. He's easy, he's not challenging, there's nothing really to note. At this point, however, my durability is at 22, so I have 2 more until the weapon's at risk and does noticeably less damage. I still have the 4 kings, Sif and Gwyn to slay. This could be an issue. Breaking into the final stretch of the game, all I have to do now is see 2 Sif and then the 4 kings. Easy, right? Well, turns out, after handling Sif without much issue, I checked my sword's durability to see that it's now down to a third. 20 of 60. Great. So, it's not said that it's at risk yet, which must mean that it has to be below a third to do so, not exactly a third. Either way, this isn't good. I warp back to Firelink where I equip Havel's armour so I can poise through the ghosts in New Londo ruins, where I need to grab this key here from this lad. Don't remember his name. This lets me drain the water, so I can now access the 4 Kings arena. Initially I'm doing some okay damage to them. If I kept this up, I'd easily be able to kill them. However, 2/3 into the first King's health bar, my sword drops into that at risk, section. Which sucks. I'm now doing a whopping 70 damage per hit, which isn't great, considering they have a nice 9504 HP, and so far I've done about 1400. So, with my amazing damage now, I'd have to hit them another 115 or so times. I've done the 4 Kings fight under some iffy conditions, like when I was in New Game Plus 6 and they were all in at once. It was about 4 minutes of me hitting, dodging, but with my HP being what it is just now, my weapon doing some shite damage, and me only having Estus Flask plus 2, I decide that this, in fact, was the end of this attempt. Rip. So in this second attempt here, I decided to go as the thief for an obvious reason. My beloved Master Key. Yes, this class can't wield anything much larger than the kitchen knife, but that's fine. The bosses I now don't need to fight will give me a lot more durability for the ones that I actually do have to fight. And that's my plan with the Master Key. After cheesing the Asylum Demon and leaving the Asylum, I head off to grab the Grass Crest Shield, speak to Andre for the sword, and then double back straight away to the Asylum to handle the demon before anything else. Next is the Taurus Demon, which goes a lot better than the last run, where I kept trying to bait him off the edge. And overall, having said that, I'm going to skip most of this run because it's the same thing really. I'll keep the changes I made to give myself a better chance, but other than that I pretty much did the exact same thing as the first attempt with minor strategy changes. So yeah, after tearing through the main bosses, like, you know, Quelaag, Gargoyles, that's it. I make it to Sen's Fortress, and then through Sen's Fortress, kill the Golem, make it to Anor Londo, where I then level up quite nicely. And there we go, already at Anor Londo, easy peasy. Now that I'm in Anor Londo, I deal with ONS, who are as easy as the Dark Souls gods decide. Sometimes you'll get super good RNG, other times they'll both have a raging hard on to see you die. Either way, I kill them both. After killing them, I join and then boost the Covenant with the Daughter of Chaos, so the shortcut unlocks. Then I run down to Izalith to slap the Bed of Chaos. Nothing new yet from the previous run, the strats will come soon, don't worry, this is all... This could all be skipped, not gonna lie. But, hey, video length, right? At this point I'm thinking, right, I'm not doing an amazing amount of damage, I need to up my fuck. Right, at this point I'm not doing an amazing amount of damage, I need to up it. I need to up my damage. So here's a new tactic I employ. Magic. I go to Sen's Fortress and free Big Hat Logan. By the way, why is he called that? I don't get it. So that I can then buy magic weapon off of him at Firelink Shrine. What I actually wanted was crystal magic weapon, and in hindsight I could actually have grabbed it, but I was impatient, so I settled with magic weapon. Using this buff, I went and killed Nito. Nito is, however, weak to fire, so realistically I could have just gone and bought a bunch of fire buffs, but whatever, man. More damage is more damage. And now I have crystal... nope. I wish. Now I have magic weapon for the rest of the run. With Nito taken care of and tucked nicely into his coffin, I head off to Anor Londo again to meet Scale the Seathless, and oh no, he kills me. What a shame. Just kidding, death scripted. After escaping from the prison area, I free Big Hat Logan so that I have access to more of his sorceries, of which I buy crystal magic weapon. Then I go all the way back to Undead Parish to speak with the female undead merchant, well, Undead Parish, Depths, whatever she's classed as, because she sells some nice toasty charcoal resin. Seath is weak to fire and lightning, and at this point I didn't actually know that the big mushroom guys drop gold pine resin, so yeah, cool, the more you know. Anyway, after getting Seath nice and toasty, I go hang out with Sif, who is in a bit of a mood, probably because I haven't given her a head scratch, but no matter, she's now resting peacefully. Okay, here we are, back to where I initially failed this challenge, but this time I'm better prepared. I have my magic crystal straight sword, doing some solid damage, and I still have a whopping 8 or 9 durability left before this time becomes useless. To clarify, I can still do damage if it's at risk, but if it does such little damage that by the time I kill the 4 kings or them and Gwyn, it would probably be fully broken, there's no point in really wasting that time. So that's why I ended the initial attempt. After killing the 4 kings with ease, I drop off all the Lord Souls into the vessel, and gain access to the final area of the game. Dark Souls 2, Dragon Lake, Scholar of the First Kiln of the First Flame. Prepare to Flame Edition. Flame on. After a few rookie discs to win, I of course parry his ass to the ground, and still have a nice 2 or 3 durability left in my weapon. So, yes, you can indeed beat Dark Souls with just a crystal straight sword. Thanks for watching, hope you all enjoyed, and subscribe for more challenge videos.